There are healers on this planet with the power to soften the suffering of mankind, yet they have remained in the recesses of the world, abused, discarded, and labeled as trash. This is The Touch of a Mustang. I am your host, Shalise Clough, and I'm here to tell the story of wild horses, Mustangs, and the humans who are discovering and sharing their gifts while working to protect their well-being and preserve their spirit, so this divine power won't be lost. Join us on this quest with the wild Mustang. Welcome back to The Touch of a Mustang. I'm so glad that you're here. If you love Mustangs and talking about them and all things mental health and how they can help us heal and grow better, don't forget to subscribe so that you can get updates when new episodes are out. So, as I started this podcast, I really wanted to explore the way that Mustang horses help us in terms of our mental well-being, the way that we think about ourselves and the way we interact with the world, because it was something that I always felt brought me tremendous peace and insights and value, both growing up with horses and then since I've adopted my Mustangs. As I began the journey into how horses help us with our mental well-being, I felt like I knew that it was true because it is something that has helped me in my life, but I couldn't really vocalize the ways that horses help us, and the Mustangs in particular, even though I knew that they were a very central part of my life during some difficult times. And as I've interviewed people and talked more about it, different aspects of life with horses and interactions with Mustangs in particular have brought to light some of the different ways that Mustangs can really help us to thrive in our just regular everyday life on this planet. And one element that surprised me the first time I heard it, I have thought more about and realized that that really was also a very central element that they helped me with as well. And I don't know that I could have pinpointed it if other people hadn't done that first. But that element, and the one that I want to talk to you about today, is how horses and Mustangs can help us build our confidence. And let's first talk about why confidence is important to our mental health and well-being. Confidence is really a belief that we are worth space in this world, that we have some purpose, some skills, attributes to give back to this world, that there is a reason that we matter. And so many of us spent our childhood developing different skills, and as we were able to master them, we gained this confidence. And confidence is so important because it allows us to really reach out and interact with the world. And I would even say it helps us to find our place in the world, our position in life where we are able to make a contribution or where we have a sense of importance. When people don't have that, it's often a place that is very lonely and feels very lost. And so confidence is so important because it really helps us to thrive. It helps us to build more skills when we realize that we've been able to be successful in other skills. And it helps us in the way we interact with the world. And more importantly, the way we feel internally. And really, mental health, mental wellness is all about the way that we feel inside of ourselves, the places that no one else sees, nobody else may know about, those feelings that develop there. So confidence is so important in our mental well-being because it really helps us to find purpose, it helps us to progress, and it gives us a sense of worth and value. So in my personal life, I would have said 10 years ago that I had a lot of confidence. And I felt that there were very particular places where I was making a contribution in the world. And that was mainly with my children and with my family. And then things slowly began to kind of fall apart in that arena. Those were the things. There were other things that I did, jobs I had, skills I had, activities I engaged in. But those were really the central things that I felt were the foundational values and worth that I was giving to the world was, raising these healthy, happy, good children that were going to grow up and contribute back to society. And so I would say that 10 years ago, I would have said that I was pretty confident, not perfect, not that I never second guessed myself, but that I felt pretty good about what I was doing. And then life got crazy. Marriage got incredibly difficult. And I felt a lot of our difficulties reflected in particular on me because of the way that things played out. And that dumped my confidence down. And then, I had absolutely dedicated my life to my children. My work revolved around my ability to care for my children. I homeschooled my children for a long time because I really wanted to give them more experiences than they would gain in public school. And we were able to do a lot of really amazing things that are incredible memories for us. But when my oldest daughter was about 17 and a half, she ran away from home. And when I say ran away from home, it's just like it sounds. She left it out and said, "Sorry, Mom, I have to leave." And she left, and I didn't know where she was for a while. I eventually called the police just to make sure that she was okay. She's still very young. And of course, there's always concerns about what they might have got caught up in. Looking back on it now, she really was just seeking higher levels of independence, and she got it. She took those on very hard. But in my mind, that's not how I envisioned my motherhood playing out. And so it was really confidence shattering to me, because if someone is a good mother, then certainly that should reflect in their children. And I think that it does. But the disconnect was, even as we try as mothers, that doesn't mean that we always have control or say over the choices that our kids make or the way they choose to have their life unfold. And I think looking back, there's a good chance that there might have been a preference to do things differently. But regardless, it was full of really good lessons. But it was one more thing that really shattered my confidence. And then around the same time, I had a very significant religious crisis. So for a lot of my life, I had really let religion guide my choices and decisions. It was a big part of why I felt that family and my children was so important at that time. And everything that unfolded, in the end, I was left outside of the religion I had grown up in and chose to step back from it because of the way a lot of things unfolded during sometimes that were already really difficult, in a time where I needed to find a way and be able to depend on my spirituality because my external world was incredibly difficult. And so all this happened around the same time. And, as a piece of my religious crisis, it really felt like God, or based on my foundational beliefs, that God was really rejecting me in a way. So it was like all these things that I had put so much time and energy and just really poured my heart and soul into. And it felt like it was all just falling apart, and it completely devastated my confidence to the point where I didn't
want to see people. I didn't want to go in public. I can specifically remember just kind of like walking with my head down, not wanting people to like see me or even acknowledge me in the times when I did, need to go and interact with the world, because that's kind of part of living in this life. So my confidence was just blown to pieces. And as I've mentioned before, a lot of these events in my life happened right around the same time that I got my first Mustang mare. And then, subsequently my gelding, and then my other little mare, who was actually meant for my daughter, and that didn't end up happening because she ran away instead. It was really in that space, away from people and away from all the outside influences, that I was able to build greater confidence. And I wouldn't even say now that I just have this perfect, no doubt confidence in myself. But one thing it allowed me to see is that a lot of my confidence had been based on outside external feedback and influences. So a lot of that was my perception of how others saw me, saw my family, and the positive or negative feedback that I would get from them. And during this incredibly difficult time, on top of everything that was happening, there was a lot of negativity and judgment surrounding my situation from outside forces as well. So with the fact that my confidence or self-esteem or feelings of value and worth, however you want to say it, I think those are all intertwined, was very much wrapped up in external feedback. So if someone gave me good feedback, I would feel good about myself. I felt great as a kid when I was getting good grades. And then if I got negative feedback from the external world, that would make me not feel so great about myself. So it was very up and down, very wishy-washy, dependent on the feedback I was getting and even my interpretation of interactions with other people and what that feedback might be saying. And then during this time, I was working to train my Mustang, and kind of made a joke about it, but truly, I still feel like we're in the training process, still learning and growing, and still, trying to take those opportunities to teach her. But as it would unfold, it was such a benefit to my truly internal confidence, to where it helped me get to the point where I could turn criticism away. I could look at the criticism and say, is it true? Sometimes criticism can be true or hold truths, and there are things that we can correct or improve or take from criticism. But often in the past, I wouldn't look at it with that critical eye. I would just take it all in. And it doesn't make you feel good. I don't think criticism even does. Even when it's truthful, it can be really hard to look at. But especially when we take it in, just take it all in and let it tell us what our value is, what our worth is, if we are capable and good and worthy of the things that we're doing. So working with horses, their feedback is very unbiased. There is a therapist that I listen to sometimes, John Deloney, and he has a saying that I really like that says behavior is a language. And of course, anyone who works with horses and is invested in having a good relationship with horses knows that our communication has to take place through behavior, because we don't share a common language that is verbal. So horses' feedback is very unbiased. It is not filled with opinions and words, but it is very much action and reaction. so we can try to do a certain thing with the horse. And they will either react by saying, "You're crazy. I don't know what you're doing. I don't want to be around you." Or by coming in and taking our guidance. And I was just thinking the other day about when I first got my Mustang and just some of her huge reactions that she had and some of the interactions that we had together, and thinking how she must have been just so scared to be in this new world where there were so many things that she didn't understand. I was just watching her the other day. The horses were all out around the house in the pasture, and she was just standing there so quiet and unaffected by the world around her. And that contrast to some of the other ways that I've seen her where she has been very worked up or had these strong, intense reactions. And that contrast just helped me to see how far we had come. And it was a really cool moment for me to reflect on the journey that we had had together. But with horses, the feedback is automatic and it's honest. Our language becomes so convoluted. People say things they don't mean, say things they don't really feel or that they do feel. And it's really easy to just speak and throw out words without even understanding what they may say or do for another person. But behavior is a little purer form of communication. And like that quote that I said, behavior is a language. And so with horses, that is the language we speak. Our behavior reflects on them, and likewise their behavior reflects to us. So you get this really clear and pure feedback that your behavior is helping me to feel calm and peaceful, or your behavior is scaring me, or even annoying me. I know it's definitely times I've seen my horses get annoyed with me where maybe I'm trying to get them to do something and they're just not interested. That's not what they want to do. And because they have that feedback, it really is a function of looking inwardly and saying, well, what am I doing? Is there truth to their behavior? And the great thing is that behavior, I think, holds a lot more truth. And it's a lot clearer and more honest depiction of how we feel about that moment and that time. So with the horses, and I believe this is what some other people have found as well, you can't fake it. And it's not dishonest or hurtful. Your horses don't go out with the intention of hurting you. They are always responding to the way you're behaving, to the energy that you bring, to the way your presence, to the feeling that creates for them. And so it helped me to see that clear reflection of my behavior and to really be more honest with myself. What is a reflection of my behavior and things that I can or should change or need to consider, instead of what's a reflection of other people. So one thing that prompted this episode also was I put a video up on YouTube, and in the video, my young Mustang mare, we were kind of working on tying up, and I pushed a little too fast, too much at once, and done a good slip knot tie that I can get out really quickly if you need to. And she just had a moment where a couple of things combined and really just pushed her past her point of comfort. And she had a big, strong reaction where she was just trying desperately to get away. So I had put this up on YouTube because I thought it had taught me a really good lesson that I thought maybe other people could benefit from. It had clarified for me a principle in horsemanship about the threshold and, well, horsemanship and life about how we have this threshold and we kind of need to be pushed to that threshold because that's where we progress. But when we go over that threshold, that's when we start breaking down, having these big, strong reactions. Depression, anxiety, lashing out, anger, and likewise in horses, when we push them over the threshold, that's when we get all those scary behaviors, bucking, bolting, rearing, anything where they are really just reacting very strongly because, we hit that point and it's like we can't focus on what we need to do anymore, and we can't focus on reality. We are just stuck in our fight or flight or freeze reaction. So it was a really important principle for me, and I thought I'll share this. I bet there's other people out there who could benefit from hearing this verbalized, and there were definitely a few people who said that it had helped them or they'd experienced the same thing, that they could relate to it. But a lot of the comments were very critical and even unkind towards me. And, one lady said, I know what I did what I'm doing, figure it out or get rid of your horses because then they'll suffer less. This was probably maybe a 5-second incident. Like, it happened very quickly. And because I had developed a deeper level of confidence, and I did take those comments and I did think to myself, is there truth here? My immediate reaction, especially in the past, would be to just take the video down. I don't want to hear people's criticism. I already have a really great self-critic that is constantly one I have to kind of back off and say, no, that's not true. I have to really be mindful of my own critic. And so, I don't necessarily want to take on other people's criticism, but because I have really delved into understanding my horses and always seeking to do better for them. And that's really what this clip I had presented was all about, is, a principle that hopefully will help us to do better so that we're not having to worry about horses bucking and bolting and getting hurt or hurting us. And it was because I had been able to develop over time a different type of confidence that was built internally rather than externally, that I was able to take those comments. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not pleasant to hear someone tell you, like, you're so horrible with horses, you should sell your horse. It still doesn't feel good, but I could take a step back and I could say, would my horse be better if she was sold? She's a Mustang that's halter trained and obviously has the ability to have big reactions. There's a good chance she could end up in a different home and in a worse situation. So is that true that I should get rid of my horses because of a 5-second incident? And honestly, this is the biggest reaction she's ever had. So why I started with that in my little YouTube debut videos, I don't know. But I was able to step away and look and say, no, that wasn't true. I had already recognized there were things that I needed and wanted to change in my approach. And so certainly that was true. It wasn't done perfectly. That is not my ideal, to have my horse frightened when I'm working with them. That's not something I want, but I was able to step back on my own. And because of her reaction, again, because of this feedback you get from horses, very quickly I could see, like, you pushed it too far, too fast. You were just really interested in, getting it done, or not even anything selfish, but maybe just missed some cues and some signs. So it really highlighted to me, be really aware of those before you get to that threshold. And so instead of taking the video down, I was able to take each of the comments and kind of look at them and hopefully even educate people that, a horse is, a Mustang especially, is most likely not going to be better off being sold or given away. That's how bad this one woman interpreted it, is that I should give my horse away. And I think a lot of us know that that cannot end up great. And certainly if you care about Mustangs, you know that they can easily end up in kill pens and on slaughter trucks to Mexico, very unfortunately. So that also wasn't true. A lot of people gave me advice on what equipment I should be using or what approaches I should be using. And certainly equipment and approaches makes a huge difference. That was not the point I was trying to share, but also, I was able to look and say, would this help? And no, that really wasn't something I wanted to change either. There was a branch that hit her head right before she exploded. And someone said, you need to cut the branch. And it helped me to see, I don't want my horses bubble wrapped. I want a branch to be able to touch my horse's head and not lose their mind. So that also wasn't a solution to the situation. So because I developed this inner confidence, instead of just taking those external comments that people made, sitting at their computer, they don't know anything about me or the work that I do with my horses, but we're ready to offer a slew of solutions and criticism. And because I had been able to develop this internal confidence, this internal sense of value and worth, and to know that my intentions were good, I wanted to share this for other people to help them with their horses. And especially if they have a reaction that's hard, it can be really hard to come back from those really big reactions and to still have that confidence. And so because I understood my intentions are right, I know the work that I put in. I'm aware of my relationship with my horses and always open to learning and growing in that area. And so I was able to take criticism that in the past might have shut down my whole desire to share about these incredible horses. Because outside negative criticism never feels great. It just doesn't. And I don't know that it ever will. I don't know that I'll ever get to a place where I'm like, yes, someone thinks so poorly of me. Maybe I will. Honestly, maybe I will, because I do think I'm getting to a point where I am not interested in taking untruths from other people. But all to say that it was really my work with Mustangs that gave me this confidence to put myself out there. This whole podcast is never something I thought of myself as doing. It's something I could easily talk myself out of. I could say there's so many other people who could do it better and who are better qualified, people who spend more time with horses. And I think that is true. I think there are better qualified people out there. I think there are people who have better skills than me. But that doesn't mean that the things that come into my mind and heart, the lessons that I learn, don't have value to share with others. And that's exactly what I would have taken it as in the past with criticism that I received. And, as I was receiving this criticism, I was just thinking a lot of people are wanting to do right by their horses. They feel that connection that I think people who love horses, you can't really explain it, but just a deep connection to be with a horse, to have a relationship with a horse. And there's all these people out there who want these good relationships, who want these great interactions with their horses, and who are struggling to figure out how that's done. And from my perspective, a lot of the information that is out there in the equestrian and the horse world is not necessarily accurate. It's definitely not the only way to do it. And some of it, I would say, is just downright harmful to your horse as well as your relationship with your horse. But in many circles, those can be the louder voices. And so I just thought, with all this criticism I got back, I know that there are people out there trying to do the best they can for their horse and for their life, maybe even in their personal life, for their children. And they are receiving this harsh criticism about how they're doing things wrong. And I thought they need those voices, as many voices as possible, including mine. They need those voices telling them that they're not wrong to want to have a deeper, clearer, more connected relationship with their horse, to have a relationship beyond, I get you out of the corral, I put you wherever I want. I get on and do whatever I want with you. And that's just how it goes. There are people who want to have an interaction, who want to understand the horses better. And so that's really one thing that's pushed me to keep having my voice as one of the voices out there. Not the only voice. And again, certainly I don't know everything. I absolutely know without a doubt that I have a whole lot more to learn. And I'm excited to find what that is. But I also know that I have learned a lot of lessons in my time with horses, both for myself and my personal life, and just how I can have a better relationship with my horses. I've been really buckling down and working with my younger Mustang, and it's been so fun to do it and to use the things that I've learned over time that, my first two Mustangs kind of broke me in with, to teach me that there's different ways to do it. And so one thing that I really believe horses do for us, a way that they really benefit our mental health, and I think Mustangs do this even more because they are often, I wouldn't say more difficult, because I don't think they're difficult, but they are more particular about their interactions, about the need to have it be something that will feel good and to maybe not just go along with it through force. And so let me know what you think. Have you worked with your horses, and have you felt that your work with them has allowed you to gain greater confidence in yourself, inside of yourself, to better understand that you have worth and value to add to this world? Because I guarantee that you do. And I think there's a lot of voices in the world that try and tell us that you don't, or that it's not enough, that you shouldn't do that thing that has been in your heart and soul, because all the external feedback is to the contrary, or that you're scared to do because you don't know how people around you will react. That's certainly something that I have to counter even still, but we can grow that confidence, and we can step into a world where our belief and feelings of worth and value can come internally, so that we are not so affected by the external. That's not to say that it will ever be perfect, but that we can grow and develop, and we can do better, and we can also understand our place in the world, our value. And I think it's easiest to listen to the external voices telling us that, but it's more powerful and more honest when we can listen to the internal voices. That internal feeling that you get, just a warmth and a depth inside of your body, that something is meant for you, that that's your place to give and contribute in the world. And I really think that's true. And I know that I have felt that in my interactions with Mustangs. I felt that in other areas, but being with Mustangs has allowed me to see that, yes, I can always improve, and there are ways that I can see that. And it's not unaccepted taking in of outside criticism and even beliefs. It can even be good feedback that makes us believe that we don't need to work on areas where we can continue to progress and grow, and areas where we can maybe do better. So in conclusion, I think when you spend time with your horses, you will get that instant feedback that can help clarify the areas where you're doing well, other areas where you need to grow, and even direct you towards those lessons that you need. And the other thing is that when we are with our Mustangs, we can give ourselves space, especially when it is just us and the horse, when there aren't other people around, where we can give ourselves space to feel that inner guidance of who we are, our place in the world, the next step that we should take to continue on the journey that's meant just for us. So one more reason that these Mustang horses are so incredibly valuable. Imagine what would happen if we could take these horses into all these places where people are struggling so much to feel a sense of worth and a sense of connection. And if these Mustangs could enter those worlds and work with other people, understand that there's so much good in them. They have so much to give, so much potential. And also, there are places where they can grow and they can do better. And when they do, it will make their life better. I wish so deeply, with all the Mustangs in holding and all the people that are struggling so much. I've talked about the incredible impact I've seen just in my short interactions with inmates when I got my 2 Mustangs from the Wild Horse Inmate Program, which no longer runs in that area. I have heard so many stories of how Mustangs help veterans who are struggling to recoup after war and after they are basically left into an entirely new world with a new purpose and meaning to find, with children in school who are struggling to feel like they're valued, who aren't getting that positive feedback. If we could pair them with these wild horses where they can work together to navigate this domestic world we live in and to gain that inner confidence and that sense of safety and self and worth going both ways, it would just be so incredible. That's something I will continue to hope for. I will work for with everything that I can. And if you have a horse, then don't be afraid to learn from them, because they will show you so much grace, so much compassion, and they will be the best teachers that you could possibly have. If you want to continue sharing the message of Mustangs, please subscribe to the podcast, to the channel. They are absolutely incredible. They are a treasure of health and peace that are being left neglected in the world because they are not seen with financial value. But I can tell you that my horses in my life did more for me and have done more for me than any therapist would have done, than any medication would have done for me. And I don't think that I'm probably unique in that way.
Thank you for joining us and learning about horses that heal and the humans who help them. We hope you'll continue with us on this journey. We'd love for you to subscribe on your favorite platform and follow The Touch of a Mustang on any of the major social media outlets. Please share with your friends, anyone who loves horses, or anyone who might be struggling and could benefit from this message. If you have felt the healing power of horses or help them in their divinely appointed mission, please reach out. We want to hear your story. As we say goodbye, always remember that the horse is always there to help you heal.